Hello and welcome to the Battling Barrow. Last year, around this time last year, I had a look at the Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Undead and Vampire Counts books. But one thing I did leave out was the Tomb Kings, because at the time I didn't own it. I still don't, but I thought I'd cover it this year, and hopefully in the next few months I can try and track down a physical copy of this book. So we're going to have to make do with a PDF. Now the reason I didn't cover it is because I really wanted to concentrate more on the vampire aspect of it, and I haven't really read this book, and I still haven't as such, so this is why it's called a quick look at. We're just going to go through it and look into it. It might be useful for some people if they're interested in looking into the Tomb Kings before they fork out a load of money on a second-hand book. It might be good to see what's in here. So yeah, let's dip our toes into the book, shall we? The first thing we can look at is this awesome cover work depicting, well, the Tomb Kings themselves, which are Egyptian-inspired skeletal undead. So, all good. In the inside cover, we have, this is a time for me when Games Workshop right there, sort of right at the top of their game, where this lovely terrain table, full colour, painted models, brilliant. Look at it, just to get you inspired, get you going. Have a little sleeve jacket here with awesome artwork. I'm going to not flip over too fast. We got to appreciate this artwork because it is wonderful. And we get to the contents. So yeah, the army list design was done by the ever awesome Alessio Calvatore, who during my time working on Middle Earth, or then the Lord of the Rings, but now Middle Earth strategy battle game, he was the man in charge, and we were his ring wraiths, as it were. Yeah, he's a really nice guy and really good at his job, so that's really cool. Underneath, it was developed by the awesome Anthony Reynolds, who also did the 6th edition Bretonia book and the ever awesome Gav Thorpe. I should point out we are only going to be looking at the 6th edition Tomb Kings book. I believe there was an 8th edition, but I know very little about that. Additional material by Space McQuirk, awesome, and Graham McNeil. Illustrations are by, there's some awesome work here by these, and again, Games Workshop artists, top of the game, John Blanche, Alex Boyd, Paul Denton, David Gallagher, Nuala Kennedy, and Carl Kopinski. I believe Nuala does some awesome cartography as well. Isn't she doing the stuff for the old world at the moment? Anyway, yeah. Maybe it's her. I think she did the maps in this. There's some awesome maps, as we'll get into in a minute. Yeah, cover illustration by Paul Dainton. So yeah, it's about an 80-page book, and we shall have a look in now rather than just reading things. As standard, as was the style of the time, we have an introduction where it sort of breaks down how the book, it goes over how the book's broken down. So that's just pretty standard stuff. Now, when we looked at the Undead last year, when we had a look at the sort of full 5th edition Undead book, it had some information on basically Tomb Kings, mummies, sort of Egyptian-based mummies, skeletons, and what have you. I don't think they were defined necessarily as Tomb Kings in that book, and sort of what would become the Vampire Counts. And then by the time you get to the first Vampire Counts books, that's the sort of Egyptian side's been jettisoned just to concentrate on vampires. And so all that information has been put into this book and really expanded upon. So yeah, I love the lore on things like this, and Warhammer Fantasy just had some of that real nice depth to it. To me, second only really to things like Middle Earth and at the times the Forgotten Realms, which is another deep lore setting. You could almost lose yourself in the history of it and treat it like a real world, exploring the history. It's so detailed, so nice, and just to have this, I'm going to have to track down a physical copy of the book and really sink my teeth into this. And who knows, perhaps next year I might sort of mess around with a Tomb King's army for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, now the Old World. And so yeah, it just goes over the sort of what we sort of know about this area and this time, but really expands upon it, which is just fantastic. I mean, look at all this lore. And also, I'm going to go back a few pages, just presented the 6th edition. Its presentation for me was just amazing. Just this, look at the borders and the graphics here. Just super fantastic. And here, speaking of which, oh, but I mentioned earlier on, maps, cartography. I love a good bit of cartography. If I feel cheated if I buy a sort of a set-in product and it doesn't have a map in it. And here is the lands of the dead, I guess. So you have Alexandria and Kemri. Here we get some more, going into some more lore and some more. I don't loathe to use the word fluff because it makes it sound like it's unimportant. To me, it is super important, and always again presented in this lovely way with some lovely art at the bottom. I mean, just look at that. If that doesn't make you wanna watch, I don't know, watch Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. That's just amazing. Yeah, so I'm not going to delve too much into this. Maybe later on, if I can get hold of a physical book, we can do that, as I said, whilst building an army. So I plan to do next year. And maybe, before we look at this map, just on this, I'll leave this graphic on. Maybe next year, what I was thinking of, all you Warhammer and Old World fans could help me build some armies. If I present you with my models, you can let me know what I can make out of it and what I need to buy. I can then buy it, paint it up, and convert it, what have you. We can make it a real interactive project between me and your good selves. Let me know in the comments what you think about that idea. And yeah, here's a sort of more detailed close-up of the Land of the Dead. Again, cartography back then was just great. I get a real wave of nostalgia looking at this. Sort of that mid-90s to mid-2000s, those 10 years, phenomenal for me with Games Workshop, and I don't think they've captured it since. I mean, just I can look at this and I just get a little wash of happiness come over me, which I don't get looking at their modern products anymore. But ho hum, that's just me. And look at this. This is sort of expanded again, getting even deeper. Where are we at? Man, it's just a bitter sea. That's Battersea. Bitter sea, I do like. Yeah, it's just sorry, I'm just losing myself as I'm trying to speak into these maps. I just love these. These maps are awesome. Oh, so good, so good. And yeah, some more. Look, this is so text heavy as well, which I think we're missing out on a lot on modern products. They seem to skimp on text. I love a good read. Probably why I damaged my eyes and I've got to wear glasses now. And look at these. That's Ray Harryhausen type skeletons there. Brilliant. So anyway, we can move on to here. Yes, the Legions of the Tomb Kings. This is probably where the meat of it is, if you like, from a gamer point of view. So yes, we have some rules in here about this particular army, and then we go over some sort of stats, going over the Tomb Kings, Leech Priests here. Ooh, look at that, he is great. And some skeleton soldiers. I'm going to cover this and go back to this in a minute, and I think people who watch my Undead Warhammer video last year may know what I'm going to talk about. But yeah, we've got rules for skeleton chariots, the Tomb Guard, and they do remind me of those big mummies from Brendan Fraser's Mummy film from 1999. Yeah, look at this artwork, it's brilliant. Look at that. That is just such a good piece of art. When a small bit of art like this tells its own story, you know you're doing something right. Yep, so we're going to move on to the insects. We've got some tomb swarms, tomb scorpions, and these are getting very familiar from that sort of full 5th Undead edition book. Some of these are lists here that were missing from the vampire counts. Here they are. Carrions, for instance, they were great. I used to look at a few of those. They don't appear to have the undead rider that were in full fifth. I'm just going to refer to it as fifth. Okay, the 5th edition undead book. The rider, the carrying rider, he is gone, but we still keep the bird, looking a bit more vulture-like. Bone Giant, how cool is that? Yes, there are giants in the world, so why wouldn't there be undead skeletal giants? Fantastic. That gave me a big lad. And yeah, the Screaming Skull Catapults, yep, missing in the 5th, missing from the 6th Vampire Counts books. Here it is, it's found here. There's stuff like the Casket of Souls. And now we go over the magic with Leech Priest magic. So yeah, this gets some more sort of, I guess, rules and what they can do. And Treasure of the Necropolis. So I'm thinking about maybe I want to do some Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, so this could be quite useful for that, sort of creating smart items. And whilst at the moment it's sort of set in the heart of the Empire, I guess, it'd be nice to move it away if I was going to run a game and maybe go down to Egypt. Kemri. Freudian slip. But again, the presentation of this is really nice, isn't it? Just looking at it, it looks like a cracked tablet we're reading this off of. There's some items here and their points cost to add to your armies. And there's quite a bit here. You know, it's not just a few things. There is a lot here. Now we're going into, so we've looked at some stats. Now we're going to go into the armies themselves. So sort of real focus on that. This goes over how you form your army. You know, choosing characters, choosing troops. You know, hiring dogs of war. Dogs of war are, and other troops are prepared to fight for money. Well, interesting. Cool. Do they have no morals? So yeah, here we go with the, again, the stats. Going over what we've sort of seen before. Tomb King, Leech High Priest, Casket of Souls with their stats. So the heroes here, small heroes, Tomb Prince, Leech Priest, and here is where I'm going to pause. So we've got the Skeleton Warriors, Skeleton Light Horsemen, and the Tomb Swarm. Now, last year what I did when we looked at the Vampire Counts and the Undead books is I used the skeleton profile to see how it changed over time from iteration to iteration, going right back to the first ever edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And I didn't actually cover the Tomb King's skeleton list. So I'm going to now rectify that by having a look at this profile and seeing if there is any difference between this Skeleton Warrior and the Vampire Counts Skeleton Warrior. So we'll use the 6th edition Vampire Counts. So I think that's fitting, as this Tomb King's is for 6th edition. And we can see, what's it, 4, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, and here we go, 4, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. So no, there is no difference, and even the captain is the same here if we flip backwards and forwards. Anyone replace bows with shields with an extra cost. So I guess that is a difference in their sort of options here. Is here in the Tomb Kings we can have a replace their bow with shields with no extra cost. Does it mention that here? It says there may be equipped with shields, equipped with light armor. Yeah, so that is a slight difference there. Equipped with light armor, click with, may replace a boot. A unit may replace their bows with spears and shields. We don't do that, we can just equip them with shields here, spears here. Musicians, standard bearers and champions, 5, 10, 10. Yeah, and so that's the same. So it's just a bit of difference with the bows here. And we get an extra one here about a general is a Tomb King. So basic profile is the same, just the options are different. And the points are the same. So yeah, that was interesting. I thought I'd just have a quick look at that, and I feel now I have completed my look at Skeleton Warrior throughout Warhammer. Only took a year. Moving on, we have the Skeleton Heavy Horseman, some chariots. I have a few skeleton chariots in bits. I could put those together maybe. These are, yeah, I don't think even Tomb King skeleton chariots. I think they're from 5th edition era. So yeah, Tomb Guard, Usurpes, Carrions, Tomb Scorpions, and we move on to our rare units with the Screaming Skull Catapult, the Bone Giant, and some Dogs of War. And yeah, we're moving. In these books, we also had some lovely full colour art, and then in the middle of these books, there would always be this sort of section here, which is the hobbyist side of it, shall we say. We've had the lore, the rules and the stats, and now we're getting to the hobbyist side, and these were always presented in this gorgeous full colour, so to cover things like how you collect an army, as it says here. And let's have a look. Yeah, so we're always presenting this lovely colour, and these skeletons here, they don't remind me of the Vampire Count skeletons. These remind me more of the earlier Warhammer skeletons. There was a box I bought in the late 80s called a Skeleton Horde, which is slightly sort of thinner and smaller than the sort of 6th edition era of skeletons, and they remind me of those models, which are lovely. And I still have those models knocking about that I use for projects every so often. A few years back I made some gibbets and hanging nooses to a terrain piece, and I used those 80 skeletons on that, so I still have some I still use for projects. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and here we go. So it's painting some skeletons and the shield, so you can get your different patterns, different colours, so you can unify your army. The one thing I would say about this era of Warhammer is the base colour's wrong. We all know it. We all know it. That base colour they use here is lovely for Middle-earth SPG. I love that colour for that, but not for Warhammer. We all know what colour it should be. If you know what colour it should be, what the colour the bases should be, leave a comment down below. So we have like a simple sort of painting bone here, white, wash of brown ink, and then dry brush with bleach bone, which is now I think called Usabi bone nowadays. But yeah, that is your bog standard base skeleton, how sort of most people did them back then. But of course you could take it to the next level, and that's what I loved about here. It's all sort of similar technique, but it gives you that extra step to boost to it. I guess nowadays I'd probably use more contrast paint skeleton horde, because I love that, and then maybe add this step in at the end, maybe these 3 and 4 onto it, so what steps 1 and 2 get merged into 1, and I just maybe add step 3, and if I'm feeling particularly fruity I will do step 4. Yeah, here's Dave Andrews doing his sort of painting regiments. Dave Andrews I met once when I went to Nottingham when I worked for Middle-earth SPG. I did some work for him. He is a lovely man and gave me lots of cool terrain tips when I was there. He's one that sort of let me know about using craft paint rather than model paint for terrain. I had such a simple thing, but I hadn't thought at the time, and I was spending a fortune, so it saved me loads of money. And here we go. I look at some Tomb King cavalry here, some lovely models, always presented in full colour with lovely terrain boards to really get you hyped and inspired. It's cool. Look at this. I just love this. And there should be some sort of look at these. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to. I bet these are savagely expensive on eBay now, aren't these models? I wonder if there were. We're getting them back in the old world, aren't we? They are Tomb Kings. It's Bretonnia versus Tomb Kings as your sort of first armies they're concentrating on. Well, there we go. I think next year they are going to be. I'm going to add to my Bretonians and do some Tomb Kings. Hello, Scorpions. Hello, look at them eating that Empire thing down there. Some swarms, excellent. Yeah, the carrion. Yeah, they look pretty cool models. I do love the sort of older. I know this is old itself now, but the older versions of them, that old Hammer version that I've got 3 of, I think now, which are awesome. And the Screaming Skull catapult, that looks awesome. And just go through the chariots, pretty cool. Chariots, Games Workshop went pretty big on chariots around this time, because that was around the time when in Middle-earth SPG we had chariots from, I forget what faction it was now, because it never really interests me. It's a man faction. I can't remember. Someone remind me in the comments as well about that. But yeah, they went pretty big on chariots. Chariots were a thing in the mid-2000s apparently for Games Workshop. Loved them. Casket of Souls, that's amazing. That was amazing. I'll have to track some of these down. And yeah, look at that storming out of that pyramid. Zagreus, Sphinx. Yeah, great. Look at that. If that wouldn't inspire you if you collect them, I don't know what would. And again, bookended with some more gorgeous full colour art. before we start moving on to the next section. So that's all your core rules and what have you, but now in the books what they used to do was present you with heroes. So again, you'd have some lore about the said heroes, which you have here, and then some stats from and some special rules. And I think this was a good compromise between sort of older Warhammer and what was 5th edition's Hero Hammer sort of nickname. Sort of, I felt this was a nice compromise to still have heroes and still have individuality to the game, but not make it so they're the focus and they're the main thing. And so who do we have? Let's go back a few pages. So we have Cetra, who was in the 5th edition book. So here we go. High Queen. Good. And what this era did as well, it sort of had what I would call feelies almost. Feelies are what used to get in sort of video games, where it used to be replicas of in-game items, if you like, as it were. And that's what this reminds me of. This looks like something you could, you know, papers, and I guess it won't be papers, it'll be papaya and things like that, scrolls and items that would be in the real world, and that's what that reminds me on. Some information about to say again, like this, just it looks like this could be a page ripped from a tome from the old world. Love that, and this is just fantastic. Give me a map and I am happy. Things like a map and arrows pointing to rooms. You know, this would be great as a more role player than sort of war gamer, as it were. You could utilise this to create a nice little session, a nice session exploring a pyramid. Well, there's an idea for next year's Warhammer Fantasy roleplay session. And just look at it, it's just something that they could be in a book. An explorer has explored this pyramid and written down all this information. And yeah, one thing they did as well, which is I should read more often for things such as this, tactics, because I am terrible at war games really. I have no tactical understanding of things. I'm Leroy Jenkins, I just charge right in and then everything dies. So I should read these. So yeah, they always used to have tactics sections in. And again, going back to the feelings, the introduction to the written language. So yeah, this just brings this world to life, and oh, so good. This is like a page from some sort of archaeologist book that studied the language. And yeah, just some banners to help you out to maybe if you want to do some conversions. Back then, conversions were achievable because models weren't. You didn't have to remortgage your house just to buy a set of models back then, really. So you know you could do conversions and make standard bearers and things. Here are some banners you could print out, scan in at the time, and print out, and then maybe colour them, paint them. Yeah, cool. And at the end, always handy reference sheets. Again, you can photocopy this, just have it on your tabletop so you don't have to flip through a book all the time. And always the last page was sort of another set of full colour photos just to inspire your creativity. And we have the back cover. So yes, this wasn't an in-depth look in it in any shape or form. This was a superficial look, a superficial flip through to hopefully install some nostalgia and get you excited for next year's releases. I believe in February they're going to start releasing the old world, so I shall be there waiting. I'm going to try and track down this 6th edition book. If anyone is selling one, let me know, or anyone wants to get rid of one, let me know. I'll be interested in taking it off their hands. That is it for this little quick look at book. So until the next video guys, stay safe, take care, goodbye.